She said it loud enough for everyone to hear. "Stop acting like you own me." And then she laughed. Everyone laughed. And in that moment, something inside me just went still. Not broken. Not shattered, just still. Like when a man realizes there's no point fighting for what's already gone. It was supposed to be a celebration. 5 years of marriage, friends, family, music, champagne, an upscale ballroom, gold light pouring through crystal chandeliers. The kind of place that smells like money and promises. People danced under the glow of soft jazz. Laughter floated through the room. And me, I stood in the corner with a drink I hadn't touched, watching my wife drift through the crowd like I was invisible. Her name's Clara. When we first met, she had that kind of warmth that could make a man believe he'd finally found peace. The kind of smile that made you feel chosen. But lately, that smile belonged to everyone but me. She wasn't just distant. She was different. More polished. Louder. Lighter. Like the world had suddenly started revolving around her again and I was just another planet losing orbit. That night, she wore a green dress, silk. Sharp. Designed to be noticed. It hugged her figure like it was made for sin. And every man in that room noticed, especially the one she was standing with. Tall guy. Expensive suit. The kind of confidence that comes from power and knowing people talk about you when you leave the room. He leaned close when she spoke. And she laughed like he'd just told the funniest joke in the world. The kind of laugh that used to belong to me. I tried not to care. I told myself, she's just being social. Don't make a scene. But the truth, it wasn't jealousy. It was clarity. For months, I'd felt something changing the tone of her voice. The way she looked at me. The way she didn't. It's strange how you can live with someone and still feel like a stranger in your own home. When she looked my way that night, it wasn't out of love. It was annoyance. Like my presence was interrupting her freedom. So I did what any man holding on to the last pieces of his dignity would do. I walked over. Not to start a fight. Just to remind her I existed. She saw me coming and rolled her eyes. That subtle shift that told me exactly what she thought. Here we go again. I reached her side. Calm. Steady. Clara. I said quietly. Can we talk for a minute? She turned to me and for a split second, I hoped I'd see a flicker of the woman I married. But her face was hard. Cold. Her hand, the one that used to hold mine like it meant something, snapped away when I gently touched her arm. Then she raised her voice. Stop acting like you own me. It cut through the music like a blade. Every laugh stopped. Every eye turned. She didn't stop there. You don't get to tell me where I go or who I'm with. The words echoed off the marble walls. Then came the whispers, the gasps, and the laughter, quiet, mocking, sharp as glass. The businessman beside her smirked. He looked at me like I was some outdated version of manhood, one that had lost its value. For a long second, I said nothing, just stood there, breathing. Not because I was scared, because I was fighting the instinct every man knows, the one that wants to defend. To argue. To shout, how dare you? But I didn't. I just looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time, I saw the truth. The woman standing in front of me wasn't the same one who cried when I proposed. Wasn't the one who promised we'd build something real. She was a stranger, wearing my wife's face. My voice came out low. Almost steady. You're right, I said. We're not together anymore. The room went silent again. Even the music seemed to stop breathing. Clara blinked, confused. Maybe even afraid for a heartbeat, because she didn't expect that kind of peace from me. She expected the usual reaction: anger, accusation, drama, but all she got was silence. I turned, placed my untouched glass on the nearest table, and walked out. No storm, no shouting, no chasing after her, just the sound of my shoes on marble, and 1,000 eyes watching a man who had finally decided not to fight for something that stopped fighting for him. Outside, the night air hit me like a confession. Cool, sharp, honest. The city lights shimmered off the parked cars and the wet pavement. I loosened my tie and took a breath so deep it felt like the first real one in months. Inside, laughter rose again, awkward and nervous, as the world kept spinning without me. But I wasn't the same man who walked into that ballroom. When you give everything to someone, your time, your loyalty, your heart, and they throw it back at you in front of strangers, it doesn't destroy you. It redefines you. It clears the noise, burns the illusion, strips away whatever weakness you've been hiding behind. That's what that night did to me. I wasn't angry. Anger fades. I wasn't heartbroken either. Heartbreak belongs to people still hoping. What I felt was freedom. The kind that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. I walked to my car and stood there for a minute, looking at my reflection in the window. My face looked calm, too calm. But in my chest, something new was stirring. Something sharper than pain, stronger than disappointment. I didn't know it then. But that night was the real beginning. Not of revenge, not of hatred, but of clarity. Because when a man loses the woman he thought he knew, he has two choices. He can collapse under the weight of betrayal, or he can rise quietly and rebuild himself from the silence she left behind. That night, I made my choice, and as I drove away from that glowing ballroom, from the music, the laughter, and the pieces of my old life, I felt it, the shift. Something in me broke, and something stronger began to form. They say every man has a breaking point, but sometimes, breaking is the only way to wake up. 2 months before that night in the ballroom, life felt steady. Not exciting, not magical, just steady. And for a man like me, that was enough. I'd been with the same company for almost 10 years, loyal, hardworking, predictable. I believed loyalty meant something, that if you stayed faithful, worked hard, provided for your family, life would return the favor. But I was about to learn that loyalty means nothing to people who only love you when you're winning. That Tuesday morning, my boss, Mr. Howard, called me into his office. He was one of those men who carried silence like authority-polished desk. Expensive watch. The kind of presence that made you straighten your back when he spoke. He looked at me and said, "Daniel, you've been here long enough to earn a choice most men never get. I want to send you to London to run our new branch. London. A dream assignment. Higher pay. Prestige. Everything I had ever worked toward. For a second, I imagined it, Clara and I walking along the Thames. New beginnings. New life. But the thought faded as quickly as it came, because when you're married to someone who's already halfway out the door, even your dreams start to feel like burdens. I told him no. My marriage comes first. I said, Clara wouldn't want to leave. She needs me here. He leaned back in his chair, studying me. Then he said something that stuck to my ribs like truth wrapped in warning. Daniel, never put a woman before your purpose. If her love is real, she'll stand by you even when you fall. If it's not, the fall will show you everything you've been pretending not to see. I remember forcing a smile, thinking he didn't understand. Clara loved me. She wasn't perfect, but she was mine. He looked unconvinced. Then he did something I still think about. He opened his drawer, pulled out a sheet of paper, and slid it across the desk. Let's test that theory, he said. At the top of the page, it said, termination notice. Signed, stamped, official. He told me it wasn't real, just an exercise. My salary would continue quietly. But as far as my wife would know, I'd lost my job 3 months. he said. If she's still the same woman by then, I'll apologize. If not, you'll thank me. I should have walked away. But something inside me, curiosity, fear, pride made me take that paper. And with it, I carried home the beginning of the end. When I handed Clara the letter that night, she looked shocked at first. Then, something shifted in her eyes. A flicker I can't unsee. She hugged me, whispered, "We'll get through this," and made dinner like everything was fine. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. The first few days were peaceful, quiet dinners. Long talks. Sympathy that almost felt real. But sympathy fades fast when love was never rooted in loyalty. By the second week, I noticed the change. Little things. At first, she stopped waiting up for me when I came home from part-time consulting jobs. Stopped asking how the search was going. Stopped caring about the small things that used to matter. And when she looked at me, I started to feel like a reminder of failure, not a man. Not a husband. Just a burden she had to carry until something better came along. She started dressing up more, just meeting friends. She'd say, nights out that turned into mornings in. Perfume I didn't recognize. Laughter that didn't belong to me echoing through phone calls she took in the hallway. And I told myself it was stress, not betrayal. Because sometimes a man's greatest weakness isn't his heart, it's his hope. Weeks passed. The warmth between us disappeared like the smell of coffee after it's gone cold. No more dinners. No more "how was your day?" No more touch. No more tenderness. The house turned quiet. And in that silence, I realized how much noise we used to make pretending to be happy. One evening, I found her scrolling through vacation photos, beaches, luxury resorts, the kind of places we could never afford anymore. She didn't notice me watching. Her lips moved slightly, whispering something to herself. It wasn't my name. That night, as I lay beside her in bed, she turned away, phone glowing in her hand, face lit with someone else's attention. And I thought, this is how love dies. Not with screaming or fights, but with indifference so cold it burns. I kept working quietly, freelancing, keeping up the illusion of struggle. Every morning, I made coffee for two. Every night. Only one cup was touched. She stopped saying, "I love you." Then she stopped saying anything at all. The distance between us wasn't measured in miles, it was measured in silence. I remember one morning, she came into the kitchen, dressed like she was going somewhere expensive. Red lipstick, gold earrings, the scent of something new and expensive clinging to her neck. I asked, "Where are you headed?" She smiled, that same soft, practiced smile she used when she lied. "Out," she said. "Just out. No details. No apology." And she walked away. The door closed behind her. And I stood there, holding my coffee, realizing it wasn't the door that shut, it was the marriage. That night, I sat alone in the dark. No TV. No sound. Just the quiet hum of the fridge and the ticking of the clock. And I thought about what my boss said. Never put a woman before your purpose. I used to think he was cynical. Now I understood he wasn't warning me about women. He was warning me about illusion. Clara hadn't just fallen out of love. She had stopped respecting me. And once a woman stops respecting a man, there's no love left to save. I wanted to hate her. But I didn't. I just pitied the version of myself that believed her love would survive the storm. Love isn't tested when life is easy. It's tested when the paycheck disappears. When you lose the things that make you impressive, the title, the status, the shine. That's when you see who really loves you. And who just loves the benefits of being with you. And as I sat there, alone in that quiet house that used to feel like home, I realized something even colder. She wasn't pretending anymore. She didn't have to, because in her mind, The man she fell for no longer existed. And in mine, the woman I'd fought for never did. I thought I was losing her. But really, I was being set free. There comes a point when a man stops asking why. Why she changed. Why she pulled away. Why the woman who once whispered, "I'll always choose you," now looks at him like an obligation. One night, sitting alone in the dark, I realized the truth. I wasn't losing her. I was just uncovering who she really was. I stopped checking her phone. Stopped waiting for her to come home. Stopped trying to prove I was worth staying for. That was the night I let go of the fantasy and started preparing for the reality. Because when a man finally accepts that love has died, he doesn't explode. He reorganizes. I began with the small things, the things she'd never notice. A signature here. A phone call there. Quiet movements in the background of a marriage that was already a ghost. While she spent her evenings chasing validation, I spent mine updating my legal documents. While she picked new perfume, I transferred assets. While she practiced lies in the mirror, I met with my lawyer. There was no shouting. No drama. Just quiet precision. It's funny how calm revenge feels when it's not about hurting someone but about reclaiming the version of yourself they forgot existed. Every night after work, I'd sit at my desk under the glow of a single lamp. Pen moving slowly across papers, property forms, bank transfers, ownership records, the kind of documents that close chapters permanently, and while my hand signed away what used to be ours, my heart signed away what used to be hers, Clara. Meanwhile, was living her new story. Fancy dinners, late nights, selfies in cars that weren't mine. She was glowing again, but not from happiness, from attention, and I watched it all in silence. Not out of weakness, but out of strategy. Because sometimes, the most dangerous man in the room is the one who's completely at peace with walking away. One evening, she came home wearing a black dress that looked too expensive to be bought on a wife's allowance. Her laughter followed her through the door, still echoing from some man's car. She barely noticed me sitting at the kitchen table. I said nothing. She poured herself a glass of wine, hummed a tune I didn't recognize, and disappeared into the bedroom, like I wasn't even there. And that's when it hit me. I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Hate still means you care. I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's when you know it's over. So I kept moving quietly. Day by day. Signature by signature. I erased our shared life piece by piece. The house listed, under a discreet agency name. My car sold. Her car prepared for sale. 2. Though she didn't know it yet, the bank accounts separated. The investments secured. Every document that tied me to her world was rewritten in ink she'd never see. And every time I initialed another line, I felt lighter. Not freer, just cleaner. At night, she would come home smelling like someone else's cologne. Her voice softer. Her tone rehearsed. And I'd greet her with the same quiet, calm evening. Clara, she'd nod, pretending I still believed the lies she told. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was already gone, just waiting for the paperwork to catch up. It's strange, watching someone destroy everything you built, and realizing you don't even want to stop them. Because once the illusion breaks, you stop fighting to keep it alive. You just start cleaning up the mess. There were moments I almost felt sorry for her. The way she strutted around, pretending to be free, not realizing the cage she built was closing from the outside. She thought she was escaping me, but she was walking right into the silence I designed. One night, as she was getting ready to go out, I caught my reflection in the mirror behind her. I looked calm, colder, maybe, but calm. And for the first time in months, I respected the man staring back, because he wasn't trying to save someone anymore. He was saving himself. While she was chasing attention, I was reclaiming my peace. while she was out there pretending to be desired. I was building the kind of life where desire didn't matter, only dignity did. By the third week, the plan was complete. Every asset, every property, every trace of our life together was under my control again. All that was left was timing. She was too distracted to notice, too busy living her double life to realize her real one was quietly disappearing beneath her feet. And that's the thing about silence, people mistake it for surrender. But silence is just preparation. Soft pause. The tone deepens. Reflective. Resolute. When love turns to humiliation, and humiliation turns to clarity. A man has two choices. He can destroy himself trying to fix her, or rebuild himself so completely she no longer recognizes the man she once betrayed. I chose the second one, and as the papers piled neatly on my desk, signed, sealed, final, I didn't feel revenge. I felt release. The kind that doesn't come from payback, but from peace. She was losing a man who would have given her the world, and I was losing a woman who didn't deserve mine. The morning she told me she was leaving, the sun was warm, and the house smelled like coffee and expensive perfume. She stood in the doorway with her suitcase, sunglasses, perched high, phone in her hand like it was her lifeline. "I'll be in Dubai for a week," she said. "Business trip." Her voice carried that fake casual tone she used whenever she was lying but didn't care if I noticed. I looked up from my coffee and smiled faintly. "Have a safe trip," I said. That was it. No questions. No argument. No fight. Because by then, I wasn't her husband anymore. Just a man quietly preparing her exit. She blinked, maybe waiting for a reaction that never came. Then she rolled her suitcase across the floor, heels clicking against the tile, each step echoing like punctuation marks at the end of a long sentence. The door closed behind her. And for the first time in months, the house exhaled. Every corner felt lighter. Every silence felt honest. I stood there for a moment, listening to the sound of her taxi pulling away. Then I reached for my phone, pressed one contact, and said two words, "It's time." Within hours, everything moved. The house sale finalized. The cars transferred. The divorce papers filed. My lawyer confirmed the timeline clean. Legal. Untraceable. Every move was precise. Rehearsed. Inevitable. Years of emotion reduced to paperwork and signatures. There was no rage left in me. Only rhythm. The kind of rhythm a man finds when he finally stops bleeding for someone who never noticed he was wounded. While she was taking selfies under desert skies, I was finalizing the end of our marriage with the same calm she once mistook for weakness. But it wasn't weakness. It was control, the kind born from exhaustion and self-respect. She wanted freedom. I gave her emptiness. Not out of cruelty, but out of balance. By the second day, my lawyer called to confirm. The accounts were cleared. The titles released. The signatures delivered. Everything she thought she owned gone. Everything she thought I'd fight to keep surrendered willingly. Because you can't lose what you've already let go of. I didn't drink to celebrate. Didn't smile. Didn't gloat. I just sat on the balcony that night, looking out at the quiet city lights, thinking how peace doesn't always come in soft forms. Sometimes, peace arrives like a verdict, sharp, clean, final. I thought about her in that moment. Maybe sipping champagne in some hotel suite, laughing at a joke from the man she thought would replace me. And I almost pitied her, because she had no idea that everything she once called hers was already gone. Her home, her comfort, her security, all dissolved in silence. No fight, no closure, just quiet consequence. People think revenge is about making someone suffer. It's not. It's about walking away so quietly they never get the chance to explain. And as I turned off the lights and stood in that half-empty living room, I realized I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her pain. I just needed my peace, and I finally had it. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's disappearance. A week later, she came back. The flight from Dubai landed just before sunset, and she walked out of the car glowing tanned, smiling, phone in hand, ready to post her perfect return. In her mind, everything was still the same. She thought she could just walk back into the life she'd left behind, pick up where she paused, and pretend nothing happened. But when she reached the house, she froze. Boxes neatly sealed, labeled with her name, sat by the front gate. 4 of them. All her clothes, her perfumes, her jewelry, everything she'd once owned, now organized like evidence of a life that no longer existed. She laughed at first, thought I was being dramatic. Then she looked past the boxes and saw lights on inside. A new car in the driveway. A child's laughter from the porch. A young couple standing where she used to stand. Her smile cracked. Reality finally caught up. She called me twice. Then 3 times. Straight to voicemail. Then she called him the man from Dubai. He answered once. His voice was cold. Don't call me again. He said, I'm done. You're a married woman. Or at least you were. And then he blocked her. That's when the phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. A calm voice. This is Attorney Blake Carter, representing your husband. We need your signature. And for the first time in years, she went silent. The day she stopped calling me love. I stopped calling what we had a marriage. Some endings aren't tragic, they're clean. And sometimes, peace looks like silence. Gentlemen, what would you have done if your wife did this to you? Would you fight to fix it? Or would you walk away like I did? Tell me in the comments, and if this story hit home, share it. Like the video. Subscribe for more true-to-life stories. And remember, walking away isn't weakness. It's power.